Okay, we're now moving into the regular meeting of council called to order at 7:08 on April 23rd. We have a motion, or we have an agenda before us. Any changes to the agenda, Mr. Septelli?
No, there is not.
Thank you. For general public's information, we have Councillor Foley sends his regrets, and we have Councillor Valentino on the phone. Just before we go to approval of the agenda as presented. Motion. Deputy Mayor Smook. Councillor Beyer, all those in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Just before we go into presentations and delegations, I would like to ask that we take a moment to reflect on the horrible tragedy in Toronto this afternoon, where there was an attack with a van on pedestrians on Yonge Street, where there were 9 people killed and 16 injured. It is an event that's currently unfolding. There is little information other than what's been on the newscast prior to this meeting. So I would ask that in lieu of that, as it is across Canada, that we stand and take a moment of silence for the victims of that attack. Thank you. We're now moving into presentations and delegations, and our first presentation, Ms. Haley Jenkins. If you would come forward to the table. We have a little bit of a background. Haley is a very upstanding community citizen who has been recently recognized, wins the Teacher Society Young Humanitarian Award. As we'll have a seat, I'm going to read a little bit about you and embarrass you a bit. R.D. Parker Collegiate Grade 12 student Haley Jenkins was in Winnipeg April 12th as one of the year's recipients of the 21st Annual Young Humanitarian Awards, which was organized by the Manitoba Teacher Society, MTS. According to MTS President Norm Gould, this year's award went out to 27 students from school divisions in Winnipeg, Brandon, Thompson, and Evergreen who have beautiful humanitarian hearts and who represent the good in public school students all across Manitoba. In the mind of Amanda Stilley, a teacher at R.D. Parker Collegiate, the description fits Jenkins to a T. Not only has she taken part in countless philanthropic pursuits right here in Thompson, including collecting almost 10,000 pounds of food for the food bank, making quilts for the crisis center, and volunteering her time at the Humane Society, but Stilley said Jenkins' genuine enthusiasm for each project is inescapable. Her face lights up when she talks about all of the stuff that she has done in this community. She's very passionate, said Stilley, who nominated Jenkins for the award. I don't think there's anybody more deserving. Jenkins' efforts are not even limited to the city of Thompson. Through working with the local students groups like Hands, Heart, and Hope, H3, and Students Offering Support, SOS, her focus has also been international in scope, including raising thousands of dollars to help build a well in Haiti and schools in Ghana and Sierra Leone. This recent award isn't even the first time that Jenkins has been officially recognized for her hard work during the current school year, since she received the Sovereign's Medal of Volunteers back in October of 2017. Even though Jenkins' high school career is rapidly coming to a close, she isn't showing any signs of slowing down. Last month, she helped organize Thompson's very own March for Our Lives event in support of the Ending Gun Violence, which was the northernmost event of its kind in Canada. In fact, Jensen told the Thompson Citizen that she has every intention of continuing to volunteer for these causes even after she graduates from high school later this summer. When I go to Winnipeg next fall, I'm going to the University of Manitoba, she said, planning to pursue a Bachelor of Science in Agriculture. I plan on volunteering at the Winnipeg Humane Society. There's also a social justice group at the University of Manitoba that I plan on joining. In the meantime, Jenkins intends to ride out the rest of her time at R.D. Parker with a lot of the same activities, including a new lunch program aimed at providing her fellow classmates with a free, nutritious meal. My, it's tough to keep up to you. What an awesome achievement to date, and I'm sure there are many, many more achievements ahead of you in your future university career and life in general. So at this time, I want to congratulate you on behalf of Council and the community of Thompson and present you with a certificate of appreciation. throughout the past year. How are things going? Good? You're excited to go to school in the fall? Excellent. Good job. Once again, Haley Jenkins. Next up, we have the Thompson Chamber of Commerce Thompson Tourism Action Plan. And I believe Keith and Volker are coming forward. Is that true? And Raj, sorry. Didn't see you come in. Have a chair. I know you guys don't need introductions, but for the record, if you could just introduce yourselves, and then the floor is yours.
Okay, for the record, my name is Keith McDonald, the Vice President of the Thompson Chamber of Commerce.
I'm Raj Teti, the President of the Chamber of Commerce.
Volker Beckman, just the Director.
Well, we'd like to thank you for having us here to discuss the Thompson Tourism Action Plan. This plan was submitted to the city in March this year, and I hope that everybody has a copy. It's quite an extensive plan, so we've got limited time. I'm not going to go over the plan. From the plan comes 7 strategic priorities, and that's what I'm going to concentrate on. And I'd also like to talk about the next steps on how to make this plan a reality. So the first strategic priority is leadership. Okay, and what the priority in brief states that we need to develop a collaborative tourism leadership structure in the community. After that's done, the second priority is a tourism product development. So somebody will have to develop the products that we are going to sell to our tourists. The next priority is a funding model. We need to determine a sustainable funding model to support the action plans. And there are going to be various partners involved in coming up with a funding model. After that, the strategic priority number 4 is marketing and communication. So we need to establish a positive identity to build on Thompson's brand. Travel Manitoba is going to be in tomorrow evening. Actually, there is a branding exercise that's taking place at the Juniper Center from 5 to 9. So hopefully we are further ahead on this priority than on the other priorities that are listed in our plan. After all that's said and done, priority number 5 is hospitality training and recognition. So this will provide local tourism and service industry access to high quality employee training and education. Again, we are going to have partners like UCN and MTech involved to actually provide a good quality program for our tourist operators. Priority number 6 and number 7 are closely related. Number 6 is community pride and beautification. So establish a positive identity through visually enhancing key areas of the community. And number 7, the priority is infrastructure development. So to enhance and improve Thompson's tourism infrastructure in key areas. Okay. Now all these priorities lead to one ultimate action plan, which is the creation of a destination marketing office. we've researched other communities who have tourism plans, and in most of these communities, the destination marketing organization is an independent organization made up of partnerships within the community. But it is independent, and it's funded by various community organizations, and it is tasked to become the leadership organization that will go and attract tourists and help carry this strategy forward. So in all these priorities, once we establish the DMO's, the Destination Marketing Office, this office is going to be very instrumental in ensuring that the next steps of this tourism plan do take place and achieve what the end goal is, and that's to have an actual tourism industry flourishing here in Thompson. Okay. Thompson has a lot to offer. We just haven't marketed ourselves. If we do it correctly, with the resources that we have, with the people that come to the city, with our surrounding communities like Paint Lake, we can actually come up with an excellent marketing plan to get tourists coming in. Now, in order to ensure that the Destination Marketing Office is up and running, funding is quite necessary. And our research shows that a lot of the funding for the other smaller communities that we've looked into comes from the hotel tax. Okay. I know that your budget's all said and done for this year, but this is a long-term strategy. In most communities, it's approximately 50% of what is collected by the hotel or from the hotel tax, the monies that's diverted to tourism. And basically, it is that organization that's going to get more people coming in and also enhance the pot of the hotel tax. I know the Hotel Association, Thompson Hotel Association is in the process of trying to get more bodies in, but their purpose is quite limited. It's to get more people in hotels, whereas the tourism plan looks at all sorts of tourists, not just people occupying hotel rooms. We could start a bed and breakfast industry here. We've got campgrounds that we can fill up. So there's a whole big slew of activities that are related to the DMO. In our discussions at the chamber, we were trying to figure out how funds can be raised for this office. One of the sources of funding was it was identified that Thompson Unlimited may have some funding that is when Thompson Unlimited wound up, we do believe that there was some funding still remaining in that organization. Now, that organization's mandate was 25% related to tourism. So that's the funding that we were hoping to come to the city to ask for once we establish the next step and try and establish this office. Travel Manitoba has committed $25,000 to this venture, so that will be on the table. And we are also hoping that other than the hotel tax, if there's any funding that's available through Thompson 2020, that we could tap into that funding for tourism-related activities. Okay. Now, this is what we have planned. So we will start the discussion process and hear your views. So this is just our side of the story. So lastly, I just want to talk about the partners. There are quite a lot of partners that will be involved. And this is not going to happen unless we have partners at the table. So the City of Thompson is one of the partners, the Thompson Chamber of Commerce, the Thompson Hotel Association, Thompson 2020, Travel Manitoba, the Province of Manitoba, and also the local and regional tourism industry. So these are the partners that we've identified. There could be more that we haven't thought of. So that's something that we're quite open to have even the surrounding Aboriginal communities, which I think will be an excellent source of cultural tourism in the north. Okay. So that's my short presentation. So we're here open to questions. Basically, we're looking for some dialogue.
Questions from council? Councillor Beyer?
Potential right now. But often when we talk about products, that seems to be when we fall short. We understand we have potential, but have you discussed what some of those products could be, what they would look like, where we would find the entrepreneurs, and how we would support those entrepreneurs and that sort of thing?
There's been a number of, the strategic plan came after a year and a half of work with North Central Development. Laura Finley was a prime sort of consultant on this. There's been several dozen different products identified. The question is a good one, who would run them, who would lead them. Understand that in tourism, basically you have three different areas. You have events, such as Nickel Days, which brings people here. You have activities like Manitoba Winter Games, and then you have products that are developed by private entrepreneurs, whether they're lodges or tour guides and so on. So there is a raft of them, and it's a question now for us to determine what's the low-hanging fruit and what are the longer-term plans, to market that and start bringing people here, for sure. Okay, we've addressed, and I think we need certainly more work in the near future to identify.
The number you have dialed.
Yeah, I guess one of the big things that always catches my ears is the training component, and I know over the last few years we've tried to bring training to Thompson, and it's met with limited success. Not because of the programs, but this is where I believe that destination marketing office, then they would actually target the businesses. I'm dating myself, but way back when we had Heather Coons doing it, we had all those classes full, and we had a lot more businesses involved. So that's where I do think it's very important to have somebody at there to go out to the businesses and provide that service.
Thank you. Councillor Wong?
I know today the topic is about the tourism. I know that's a first step, and it just initiated. So we still have a long way to go. But one thing I want to use this stage to ask the question is, like, right now we have a lot of truck coming through Thompson. As a Chamber of Commerce, have you guys ever thought of target the market, because that's instant right away? From what I gather, at least 900 load, just the piping to kiosks. So there's a lot of business we can do for those truckers. They need to stop here to, use the washroom or food or a little bit of grocery if they need to, toothbrush, whatever. So as a Chamber of Commerce, have you guys thought of target this instant market? If it's not, I think my suggestion, we should start looking into that as well. This is one thing already started. Okay, it's not going to stop you guys to continue, but that's another market that we can target right away, instant.
So as a chamber, no, we haven't really targeted the trucking industry. Um, we don't feel, or I should restate, it's not a matter of not feeling. We believe that our mandate is advocacy. Our members do take advantage of the truckers who do come in. So whoever is our member, they do know that we have this extra quote unquote tourists, because they do spend a night here, they do spend dollars. But to say that if we've actually spoken to the companies down south to tell them to have their truck drivers stop in at certain establishments, no, we haven't. But it's something we're open to.
Because we try to sell more room too, right? At the same time, there's opportunity.
Well, from my former life as a mall manager, we need to make sure that if we're going to go about getting business from truckers, that we have the facilities for the truckers themselves, like parking facilities and things of that nature, and not to use, because they carry dangerous goods and that things, we have to be wary of the safety of the residents of Thompson while they travel through. But I can tell you that the Best Western Hotel and Days Inn do take opportunities now as we speak, and that's what they do, stay at hotels, the majority of them. And that depends on a number of things too, the company they're working for, if they allow the expense and so on. But I know they've been taking advantage of that.
If I can answer to Albert.
Yeah.
Duncan just answered that. I think you've hit a nail on the head too. There's a lot of things sitting out there. The question is whose job is it to go after them?
My opinion is, as a Chamber of Commerce, you have a way to lobby through the city and say, look, this is a big market at this moment for the next 5 to 10 years. Can we find a land, like develop or just flatten the land for those truckers to park so we can target them for different reasons? I think it's not fair for City Center Mall or Plaza to accommodate that because they are the private sector. So I agree with you about the dangerous goods and all that. I'm totally aware of. But I believe Chamber of Commerce also have a duty to lobby this business, right? So just suggestion.
So just to clarify, in regards to the hazardous goods, we do have designated hazardous goods routes. We do monitor those. The additional trucks that are on site from special projects like Kiosk or as a result of the Omnitrax decision and getting goods to the north has provided an excessive amount of truck traffic into our community, all of which hasn't been received positively from response of some truckers. So we do have some work to work on there, but to Councillor Wong's point, there is a opportunity from the trucking industry to capitalize on those visits here, and which, as Wilker's outlined, some businesses, and Keith has already outlined, some businesses are already tapping into that, but there are larger probably perspectives that can be taken from that perspective. So I guess from the presentation perspective, this is the tourism strategy from the Chamber of Commerce. From our perspective in the City of Thompson, we have Anthony McGuinness in development, and we also have Keisha Davis seconded to Thompson 2020 as our Economic Development Officer. I would look to further meetings with administratively to further the discussion in regards to where we can go with this and the city being a partner moving forward, if that's reasonable. Fair?
Yeah, that's reasonable. I just want to stress that this strategy is not, it doesn't belong to the chamber. It belongs to all of us. Okay. The city has contributed or has promised to contribute some dollars towards the strategy. So we do not take ownership. We just wanted to get the strategy up and running and look for partners and hand it over to this DMO so that we can actually get tourist bodies into town. So it has to be a collaborative approach.
And if I can add to what's really important here, you have to plan 6 to 12 months ahead. Right now in August is one of the largest RV conferences ever coming to Manitoba. It's called Bowler. These are little fiberglass little trailers that people pull over the place. that's a target audience Thompson should draw, because that's what they do every year. They travel all over North America. So the question is, whose job is it to go to that trade show and promote Thompson, Northern Manitoba? We know the winter weather testing, it's August and September when those companies start looking at their budgets for next January, February, March. So again, I gave a presentation to the other week about whose job is it now to bring those testers up here. Some come automatically, but there's dozens and dozens of don't even know we exist. That's another one. And then we're doing things now with Churchill Wild and Frontiers North in Churchill, doing things in England with wolves and polar bears. That needs to be planned a year, 12 to 18 months ahead of time. So if that's the difficulty, is it would be, this is probably the best strategic plan I've ever seen us put together, because it covers all the bases. Now it's the question of who implements it, and through a DMO office, that would be a dedicated organization to their job, whether it's filling campgrounds or filling hotels or friends and family. So I think we have something good here in the works.
Comments? Councillor Valentino on the line?
Yeah, I'm fine, no comment.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much for your presentation. Now we're moving into general inquiries. Are there any inquiries from the general public? Please come forward, state your name, and ask your question. Second time. Third and final. Seeing none, we'll move on to adoption of minutes.
Mr. Mayor, before you adopt the minute, I'd like to submit the written notice for the rescind motion. Resolution 2018082. And the second one is rescind the bylaw 2018063. Thank you.
So the process is that councillors can serve notice to rescind resolutions at a meeting, and the subsequent regular meeting following this is where the identified resolutions will be brought back for discussion.
Turn in my written notice.
Yep. Thank you. So this will be passed to our Tammy, our clerk, and we brought forward at the next regular meeting for consideration. Now we're going on to adoption of minutes. The regular meeting, Council, April 9, 2018, Resolution 2018104, moved by Councillor Ellis, seconded by Deputy Mayor Smook. Be resolved, the minutes of the regular meeting of Council held in Council Chamber, City Hall, Thompson, Manitoba, on Monday, April 9, 2018, be adopted as circulated. Call for the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Carried unanimously. Thank you. Sorry? Could we do that again, guys? All in favor?
Aye.
It's carried unanimously. Thank you. We're now going on to committee reports, Recreation and Community Services report, and seeing that Councillor Valentino is on the line and Councillor Foley is not available, we'll have Mr. Andrew Hilby, the Recreation Director, read the report. Mr. Hilby.
Thank you, Your Worship. Recreation and Community Services Committee report. This is for January 1st to April 30th, 2018. The committee members are Councillor Dennis Foley, who's chair, Councillor Kathy Valentino, Mayor Dennis Fensky, Gary Septelli, Jim English, Sonia Wiseman, myself, and Lyle Zelbel. The community representatives are Ryan Land on behalf of the School District of Mystery Lake and Charlotte LaRocque from UCN. Citizen representative is Bruce Krentz. First subcategory is programming and events. Winterfest 2017 was successful, but due to the colder weather, there was less attendance than last year's event. This year's event was shortened due to the upcoming 2018 Winter Games that was taking place 4 weeks later. Staff and committee members felt that having a large event in February would have put too much strain on local volunteers, groups, and businesses, because many of them were already committed to the 2018 Winter Games that was happening in March. For Winterfest 2019, staff and volunteer organizers would like to host it during the last week of February, as in previous years, February 22nd to the 24th. The 2019 Winterfest will be advertised in the Manitoba Travel Guide and other local and regional media to expand the visibility of the event. The City of Thompson waiving of fees policy is being revised to accommodate new policy directions as part of Council's budget deliberations. Nonprofit groups will now be able to apply for a maximum waiving of fees of 50%. The Remembrance Day event is the only special event designated by Council and will receive 100% waiving of fees each year.
The changes will be communicated to all previous user groups that have requested a waiving of fees. At the Norplex Pool, the city hired a new pool manager, Sonia Wiseman. She started on February 21st, 2018. The Norplex Pool successfully completed in January a 2-week pool shutdown for maintenance and mechanical upgrades. There was various minor repairs and cleaning completed throughout the facility to be ready for the 2018 Winter Games. The on-demand water heaters capital project has been completed. Mechanical repairs and some of the upgrades to the Dectron were completed February 11th, 2018. Staff will be completing the upgrades throughout 2018. The capital tender for the repairs and upgrades to the motors and louvers for the air handling system is in progress. The project is expected to be completed by the end of the summer. The tender for the upgrades to the chlorine system is in progress. The project is expected to be completed by the end of the summer. Staff developed and implemented a new pool schedule to accommodate new policy directions as part of Council's budget deliberations. Also, administration is looking at changing the Norplex Pool's front counter so it can be more accessible. Most of the City of Thompson's staff have completed customer service and accessibility training modules. At the Thompson Regional Community Center, staff operated the Thompson Regional Community Center and Norplex Pool to a high degree during the 2018 Winter Games. There was a major break in the brine line system in the CA Arena in late February. Staff and Simcoe representatives were able to get the arena operational after being closed for 7 days. Banners that were previously displayed in the arena prior to construction of the TRCC have been collected. Staff are developing a plan to have them displayed in the CA Arena by the end of June. Some of the events at the TRCC: in January 19th to the 21st, there was the Prince Berscheid Hockey Tournament, January 26th to the 28th, Thompson Tigers Women's Hockey Tournament. In February, there was the Munn Cup Hockey Tournament, February 16th to the 18th, the Pre-Novice Hockey Tournament on February 24th. In March, from March 3rd to the 11th, there was the Manitoba Winter Games. March 25th, Skate Thompson had their ice show. March 16th to the 18th, the Novice Hockey Tournament. March 29th to April 6th was the USW Hockey Tournament. In April 7th, Skate Thompson had their test day event. April 20th was the Knights of Columbus track and field event. April 28th will be the Relay for Life event. In regards to the Cemetery Ad Hoc Committee met with the RCS Committee on March 27th, 2018. Staff are working with the Cemetery Ad Hoc Committee to assist with a proposed cemetery cleanup event being planned for late spring 2018. Regarding safe operations, staff updated safe work procedures and received additional training in March and April. Administration would like to thank the Recreation and Community Services Committee for their continued guidance and support. Thank you.
Any questions of the report?
Yes, I'd like to comment.
Sure, go ahead, Councillor Valentino.
I'd just like to say that for the general public, that the Recreation and Community Services Committee, as you can see from the report, has a lot of almost subcommittees that are ran by volunteers, and that is our Winterfest Committee, our Cemetery Committee. We are always looking for someone that would want to step up and be a volunteer and do our Communities in Bloom program. We look for people to help with Canada Day. So if people are out there that are interested and want to get involved with some of the events we put on, we're looking for volunteers always, so they can always go down to the TRCC, to the front desk, if they'd like to get involved. And secondly, it was duly noted at our recreation community meetings that our recreation staff and all of our recreation facilities were in top-notch shape for the Manitoba Games, and it was a big thank you to our staff, who was very visible and did a good job. So thank you to Mr. Hillaby and his staff.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? We'll receive the report for information. Thank you. And now we're going on to correspondence. We have a letter from Wab Canoe, Leader of the Official Opposition, in response to our letter dated February 26, 2018. Letters to myself, Mayor Fenske. Thank you for your correspondence regarding the challenges and opportunities facing the City of Thompson. It was with pleasure to meet with you to discuss our shared concerns. I believe the City of Thompson and Northern Manitoba are critical to the future prosperity of our province. As such, the North deserves an investment that support our economy, as well as an investment in services that ensure residents receive appropriate health care. I'm deeply concerned that the Palliser government does not appear prepared to take significant action to address the challenges faced in northern Manitoba, most notably in our mining communities. Instead, the Palliser government talks a lot about diversification, but it has just recently revealed that they have paused and then cut funding within the Community Economic Development Fund. This fund is one of the tools the government has to support local businesses in northern Manitoba, and the Palliser government has cut it. I appreciate the information you provided me regarding the Birch Tree Mine as well as the smelter and the refinery. Rest assured we are advocating for Thompson to receive all the supports necessary to face these very serious challenges. I'm also deeply concerned about the Palliser government's failure to make appropriate investments for northern health care. I note that officials from Northern Health Region are saying publicly that the government's underfunding for physicians' positions are leading to delays in access to health care. It is unacceptable. It is critical that Thompson receives appropriate funding. We will continue to advocate for investment in the North so that all our communities can grow and prosper. You can be assured that we will do our best to support and lobby on behalf of Thompson and for all northern communities. Once again, thank you for your time, and I look forward to visiting you again in the future. Sincerely, Wab Kinew, Leader of the Official Opposition. Questions or comments from Council? Councillor Wong.
I think there's one of the statement there is not true, because I had a conversation with the CEO of Regional Health, Helga. She told me the government just funded the money for the roof for the hospital here. So when they say there's not invested to the northern healthcare, I think it's a little bit of misinformation by making up this statement.
Just for clarification, the comments made by Wab Kinew were in regard to physicians in the north. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, we'll receive for information. Next, we have a news release, Manitoba and Nunavut co-chair 10th Hudson Bay Regional Roundtable. This was a news release dated April 13th, 2018. Manitoba and Nunavut co-chair 10th Hudson Bay Regional Roundtable. The Manitoba government is hosting this year's Hudson Bay Regional Roundtable, a two-day summit gathering communities and stakeholders from Manitoba and the Kivalliq region in Nunavut. Manitoba Growth Enterprise and Trade Minister Blaine Peterson and Nunavut Community and Government Services Minister Lauren Kusiak announced today. Nunavut and Manitoba share common goals of expanding economic development, increasing trade, nurturing culture, and creating new employment opportunities, said Peterson. The linkages and relationships between Manitoba and Nunavut are important to us, and this roundtable provides an opportunity to work together for betterment of all our communities. The Hudson Bay Regional Roundtable is an initiative involving 7 communities in the Kivalliq region of Nunavut, along with the Manitoba communities of Churchill, Gillam, the Sensei Dene First Nation, and Fox Lake Cree Nation. The primary goal of the meetings is to increase trade and services amongst the Hudson Bay neighbors. The relationship between Manitoba and Nunavut is extremely important, said Kusiak. With these discussions, we are setting the foundation for greater economic opportunities for everyone's benefit. By working together in partnership, our shared issues, we hope to find the balance between our goals and priorities, which will bring many beneficial results for our residents in both regions. Key priorities discussed in this year's roundtable include energy, economic development, training, transportation, and health. Manitoba and Nunavut support the creation of better conditions for economic development to achieve a more prosperous future for all Northerners. This new focus of the Roundtable on Economic Development aligns with Look North, Manitoba's Northern Economic Strategy. Look North is a long-term commitment by government and northern communities focusing on economic growth and prosperity in the region. It is a movement by Northerners for Northerners to unleash the economic potential of generations to come. Through participation in the Roundtable, the government of Nunavut is acting in accordance to the principles of economic development outlined in the Tuktoyaktuk mandate. The costs of travel and transportation contribute to the high cost of living and doing business in Nunavut. These partnerships generate momentum, supporting positive future developments for Nunavut communities, its land, and its people. The summit started in Winnipeg yesterday and will conclude today. That was dated April 13th. Comments and questions from Council? Councillor Beyer.
In our best interest, if we were to approach the Hudson Bay Regional Roundtable and or the province of Manitoba to be included as one of the communities that is part of this initiative. It says 7 communities. It would be nice to make it 8, especially seeing as we are strategically located for transportation of goods and food, etc.
Attended this in the past, and please note the date on the letter and that the roundtable started yesterday and will conclude today. We did not receive notification of when it was going to be.
Any other questions or comments?
Yes, I'd like to comment.
Councillor Valentino.
Yeah, I'm kind of disappointed that we aren't included in this also, and I would like us to follow up. I also think it's interesting that they had it in Winnipeg when they're talking about the economic benefits for the north.
Thank you. If council would indulge, I'd also make a comment. The release itself is a positive in the sense that the conversations that are happening between the province of Manitoba and the government of Nunavut. The disappointment is that I was meeting with Minister Pedersen on April 3rd, a week before this meeting, and there was no mention of this when we specifically talked about initiatives coming out of Thompson 2020 in as a result of the Vale decision to close, to put Birch Tree into care and maintenance and to close the smelter and refinery. We find ourselves with an abundance of labor, skilled, trained labor, that we've been talking through the Thompson 2020 initiative with mining contacts who have mines in Nunavut as a supplier of labor. And this was a perfect opportunity to expand those discussions. So I share council's disappointment in not being invited to participate in this discussion, given that we met with the minister a week previously and talked about this specifically in regards to Thompson being a hub of labor for Nunavut in their mining endeavors. Any other questions or comments? Councillor Collada.
I'm surprised as well that we weren't included, because when Councillor Smook and I attended the roundtable in Winnipeg, Minister Eileen Clark showed me a copy of the agreement that was signed between the province of Manitoba and Nunavut, and I believe it was in 2008. But that agreement was drawn up by our Norman Regional Development Corporation, which is now defunct, and it included, of course, the education, the health, transportation, and she was using that as a basis for her trying to restart that activity, and it was a very good agreement, and I would imagine that they're still using it as a template. So it is surprising that Thompson wasn't included when Thompson was the headquarters for the Norman Regional Development Corporation, which was a member organization of northern communities. So I think that possibly we should make some contact and request that we be included, and I'm sure that it would be to their benefit as well as to ours.
So we'll follow up with Minister Pedersen's office and to be included in further discussions. Now we're going into resolutions. We have a resolution confirming the Manitoba Hydroelectric Services Agreement, the water treatment plant, and we have a memo from the Director of Development Services. Resolution 2018-105, moved by Deputy Mayor Smook, seconded by Councillor Beyer. Be it resolved, the Council confirm entering into an electrical services agreement with Manitoba Hydro for electric service to the water treatment plant per electric service agreement number 200982113. We'll go to administration for support.
This is basically a housekeeping resolution. The work's already been finished. It's just to confirm it as part of the transfer process.
Mayor Smook. Council, any other questions or comments? Seeing none, call for the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Carried unanimously. Thank you. Next, we have a resolution to approve the tabulation of prices for the 2018 road renewal project and multi-use path. We have a tabulation of prices and a memo from the Director of Development Services. Resolution 2018-106, moved by Councillor Beyer, second by Councillor Ellis. Be it resolved, the Council approve the recommendation of purchasing agent and award the tender for the 2018 road renewal and multi-use path program to Maple Leaf Construction Limited for their tendered price of $969,972.41, all applicable taxes included, as per tender file number 10618. We'll go to administration for support.
Just a note that the tender amount came in under the budgeted amount.
We'll go to the mover, Councillor Beyer.
Always supporting it. It's nice to have a situation where the tendered amount comes in under the budgeted amount.
Council, any questions? Councillor Matichuk.
I also will be supporting this because, as we all know, our streets are in desperate need of repairs. But I also want to point out my disappointment in the fact that the Public Works and Infrastructure Committee could not meet quorum because a couple of the persons on council could not be bothered or were busy with more important stuff at this critical time to be at this meeting. It's a critical time when we have the tenders going out, when we have the planning of this, and it went without being discussed.
Councillor Wong.
I just want the administration to explain to the public about the, we budget for $1.3 million for this project. Right now it came in below $100 million. So there will be a balance there. So what the city would do with the balance, I'd like the administration to explain to the public so they will not have any problem later in the future. They talk about the money, how the money goes. I just want to show a little bit of transparency. Thank you.
So as happened in previous years when there was surplus on certain projects, that there is an opportunity to potentially bring some added scope of work to a contract that can be addressed because of the fact is that council has approved the 1.3 in the budget itself. And a prime example obviously is undertaking a number of milling projects last year to sort of address some of our immediate issues that resulted from the spring thaw that we experienced last year. We had a number of roads really disintegrate to the full extent. So really that obviously over the next couple of weeks with the thaw process and the development of the potholes, administration is looking at some potential areas that may be in our best interest of a community to undertake some of that milling and obviously to potentially add additional scope of work to this paving contractor.
Any other questions or comments?
Yes, I'd like to comment, please.
Councillor Valentino.
I would just like to, for the public's knowledge, know that these tendering processes are discussed and reviewed at the Finance Committee meetings, and this one wasn't at Public Works. And this particular project has been a part of our budget deliberations as a council since October under our capital projects.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, call for the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Carried unanimously. Thank you. Next, we have a resolution approving the March check registers, and we have the check registers. Resolution 2018-107, moved by Deputy Mayor Smook, seconded by Councillor Byer. Check register dated March 2018. General accounts payable checks totaling $1,417,403.79. Payroll dated March 2nd, 2018, $265,522.33. Payroll dated March 16th, 2018, $265,296.80. Payroll dated March 29th, 2018, $262,497.35. For a subtotal of $793,316.48 for a grand total of $2,210,720.27. The accounts contained in this schedule register have been reviewed by the members of Finance and Administration Committee. I'll go to Administration for support.
This was discussed at the Finance and Admin Committee, which always is in regards to the monthly check registers. Emails go out to all of council asking if they have any questions prior to the actual council meeting to bring them forth so that administration can bring forth the appropriate information at that time.
Thank you.
Have not received any inquiries in regards to this from any of the councillors.
Thank you. We'll go to the mover, Deputy Mayor Smook. Council, any questions? Councillor Manager.
Yeah, I have two check numbers here, 0026207 and 0026281, both of which are made out to Community Futures North Central Development, both of which are for $7,175. They are dated March 8th and March 22nd. That is 2 weeks apart. There was also that same amount in the last check register that was approved. And I'm just wondering, how much a year are we directing to Community Futures North Central Development?
As has been explained, likely the last 3 or 4 check registers as part of the checks that are written to North Central Development. North Central Development is the administrator of the Thompson 2020 project. So they're the ones that are incurring the expense up front. They invoice Manitoba Education and Training. Manitoba Education and Training pays the City of Thompson, which then flows the money back to North Central Development. So this is part of the normal monthly invoices that are submitted by North Central Development, of which Council is well aware of as part of that 2020 process. The funding that comes from the 2020 process has been funded entirely by Manitoba Education and Training along with Service Canada.
Just to follow up on that, the City of Thompson's contribution to Thompson 2020 is salary and time of our Economic Development Officer Keisha Davis. We've seconded her to Thompson 2020 for the life of Thompson 2020, which is estimated at 18 to 24 months. All other costs are flow-through grants provided by the province of Manitoba or the federal government of Canada in regards to the other expenses related to Thompson 2020. Councillor Wong.
Okay, I have a check number 26319. Right to Music Maker, $1,400. I'd like to know what's event that we hire them to do this. And I also have a comment about the city manager just made about they send us the list, send us an email for council to respond prior to this meeting about check register. I believe under the Municipal Act, the CAO administration duties, section 127, subsection 2 and subsection E. I believe he already done that. The accounts for authorized expenditure of municipality are paid. So I believe he done that already. So I believe he also, since he already approved this, he should able to answer us the question right now. And never mind, under the our organization procedural bylaw, under the Finance Administration Committee, our job is to make sure to oversee all account receivable, expenditure and outlay of all sum payable under contract and so and so. So I also believe with this check register, there's a two signature there. One is Kathy Valentino, the other one is Colleen Smook. You guys approve 100 over checks for the last month, and you should be able to answer the question right now because you approved that oversee the expenditure. But sometimes they want us to refer to the accountant. I think it's not fair for her to answer the question because her job is to make sure the books is balanced. Your job is to oversee how the money is spent. So I have a problem with this setup, this kind of way of doing this business.
Let me explain to the general public and the flaws in Councillor Wong's thought process, in that the check register, the City of Thompson as a corporation issues hundreds of checks per month. We tally them in what's called a check register. That register goes to the Finance Committee for review, and as per, and Councillor Wong knows this because he was on the Finance Committee the first 2 years of his tenure, that the checks are reviewed, and the standing practice, because there's so many of them, if there's any individual check issues raised, it's raised at finance, but generally the Chief Financial Officer is asked to speak to anything over $10,000 at the finance meeting to clarify what the expenditure is of any check over $10,000, and that's done at the Finance Committee. Again, mentioning the fact that we have hundreds of checks that we write each month. Secondly, following the Finance Committee meeting, a memo is sent out with a copy of the check registers to all council, in the sense of they can review the check registers, and if they have an issue with a specific check, that they should send a memo to the city manager or the CFO, Jenny Krentz, with the check number. They will do their due diligence and have a response for that specific request at a meeting such as this evening. The unfairness that councillors put on administration is to cherry pick a couple of checks off of hundreds the night of the meeting and then ask for an explanation. That's totally unreasonable unless the amount is larger than normal and that check for some reason would stand out in the hundreds that we write. So Councillor Wong's thought process is somewhat flawed in the expectation of what we do. We try to be transparent and provide council with every opportunity and the general public to know at every chance the issuance of checks. So that's why we asked 2 weeks prior to the council meeting, if you have issues with checks, send a note, we'll do the research, council or administration will do the research and have the answers at tonight's meeting. There were no questions asked prior to this meeting. And the expectation that out of hundreds of checks written, the administration should be able to, off the top of their head, know exactly the fine details of every check that was written in the last month is unreasonable. Deputy Mayor Smook.
Yes, I would just like to reiterate that when we have the meetings on the Mondays, finance, everybody's invited to them, including the general public. Administration Krantz, she goes through the ones that she has pulled out that she thinks we might have questions for. We all have a question, a copy of them all. We can ask questions on any one. And I don't believe when you were on the Finance Committee that you reviewed each check separately, and I know a couple times you signed the same form I did. I have faith in our administration when they bring forward these checks, and if I do have a question or concern, I can go and ask either Gary or Jenny what we need. And I feel the same. I'd just like to say any of the things is available to us. You don't have to come to these meetings or finance. You can go to administration anytime through Gary and ask what these checks were written on.
Other comments?
Yes, I'd like to comment as the Chair of Finance.
Councillor Valentino.
I would like to certainly welcome Councillor Wong and Councillor Matichuk to maybe decide to show up at a finance meeting and have the committee explain to them how this process works, because this process isn't going to change with the check registries moving forward. And clearly people need to understand that the check registers are already checks that have been cashed and already itemized. So I appreciate if everybody would come and you could deal with the finance committee and they'll be happy to walk you through how this process works.
Thank you. Not to prolong the debate anymore, any councillor that hasn't spoken on this, you want to speak? No? Okay, with that, we'll call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's carried, thank you. Next, we have a resolution to approve the assignment of Thompson Regional Community Center concession lease agreement. We have a memo from the Director of Recreation, Parks and Culture. Resolution 20188, moved by Councillor Byer, second by Councillor Ellis. Whereas bylaw 1952-2017 was amended so that council will allocate the percentage of revenues to each fund resolution, each fund through resolution on an annual basis for the said year. And whereas through budget deliberations, council has determined the 2018 allocation. Now therefore be resolved that the tax collected under subsection 3.1 remitted to the tax collector under subsection 5.2 and not refunded under section 6 is to be deposited appropriately into the according funds. Infrastructure Reserve Fund 50%, Affordable Housing Reserve Fund 10%, Public Safety Initiatives Reserve Fund 20%, Economic Development and Tourism Reserve Fund 20%. I believe I read the wrong resolution. Back to this one, which is 2018109, moved by Councillor Ellis, seconded by Councillor Byer. Whereas on September 22nd, 2014, Council passed Resolution 2014221, approve it. Nope. Where we go here? Sorry, guys, we're out of sequence here. Concession lease agreement. Okay. Okay. Sorry, my fault. Resolution for accommodation tax distribution. Resolution 2018108, moved by Councillor Byer, seconded by Councillor Ellis. Whereas bylaw 1952-2017 was amended so the council will allocate the percentage of revenues to each fund through resolution on an annual basis for the said year. And whereas through budget deliberations, council has determined the 2018 allocation, now therefore be resolved that the tax collected under subsection 3.1 remitted to the tax collector under subsection 5.2 and not refunded under section 6 is to be deposited appropriately into the according funds. Infrastructure Reserve 50%, according Affordable Housing Reserve Fund 10%, Public Safety Initiatives Reserve Fund 20%, Economic Development and Tourism Reserve Fund 20%. We'll go to administration for support. Anything to add? Mr. Sepatelli.
Just indicated as part of council budget deliberations, set the values as the budget is being set, and really this resolution, as per the bylaw, is a housekeeping that we have to bring forth a resolution to approve those allocations which have been identified in the budget process.
Councillor Byer is the mover.
I'm glad to see that, you know, council was flexible in looking at adjusting how the percentages went. Also glad to say that the Thompson Hotel Association is, they've got their full-time staff person in place, and they're starting to get some traction now. So it's nice to see us step out of what we normally do and try different initiatives to grow the economic base of Thompson.
Thank you. Council, any other questions? Councillor Matichuk.
I'll be voting against this. I like that the Lions share goes to the Public Works and Infrastructure, or the infrastructure actually, and the other 50% I think could be spent better.
Any comments? Councillor Wong.
Yeah, we did discuss throughout the budget. I pretty vocal about this percentage, but of course majority rule, so I cannot support this. The percentage distribute to the different reserve, so I will voted against that too. And record a vote, please. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Smook.
Yes, I'd just like to also announce that Councillor Byer is the City Council representative on the Thompson Hotel Association, so we will be kept apprised of where our dollars are going.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, we'll call in a recorded vote. Call for the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Voting in favor, Councillor Byer, Councillor Ellis, Councillor Clada, Deputy Mayor Smook, Councillor Valentino, Mayor Fensky. Voting opposed, Councillor Matichuk, Councillor Wong. It's carried. Thank you. Now we have a resolution to approve the assignment of Thompson Regional. Oh, am I in the right one? Yep, okay. Sorry about that, guys. Resolution to approve the assignment of the Thompson Regional Community Center concession lease agreement. We have a memo from the Director of Parks, Recreation, Parks and Culture. Resolution 2018-109, moved by Councillor Ellis, seconded by Councillor Byer. Whereas on September 22nd, 2014, Council passed resolution number 2014-221, approving a 5-year lease agreement between the City of Thompson and the Dragon Phoenix Holding Limited to provide concession services at the Thompson Regional Community Center, TRCC. And whereas the leasee has requested that the lease agreement be assigned from Dragon Phoenix Holding Limited to TRCC Concession Inc., now therefore Council approved the assignment of the lease agreement from Dragon Phoenix Holding Limited to TRCC Concession Inc. We'll go to Mr. Hilby. Anything to add? To the mover, Councillor Ellis.
This won't change the operation of the TRC concession. And it's housekeeping.
Councillor Wong.
My question is when this lease agreement expired for Dragon Phoenix Holding Limited?
It's a 5-year lease agreement with an ability to renew for an additional term.
So when it's expired for the first 5 years?
Well, it started in 2014, so 2019.
So that means they are going to breach that agreement then?
Well, this is due to the situation that occurred last year. From a legal perspective, is the shareholder that remains is changing the legal entity that she has to operate under.
Okay, my second question, who is TRCC Concession Inc.? Is that a new entity or new person?
It's a new entity, but it's the same shareholder as Dragon Phoenix Holdings.
So that means they form another company to joint venture with this? Or what do you mean by the same shareholder?
No, the initial company had 2 shareholders. Okay. One shareholder passed away. Yes. So they're recognizing the need to change the legal entity from her perspective. So she's creating a new company called TRCC Concession Inc.
To continue with the...
There really is no change in operation. It's a change in the legal name.
Any other questions? Seeing none, call for the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
It's carried unanimously. Thank you. 8.6, a resolution to approve the 2018 general municipal election remuneration rates. Resolution 2018-110, moved by Deputy Mayor Smook, seconded by Councillor Ellis. Whereas the City of Thompson must set the rate to be paid for election officials who assist with municipal and school board elections and by-elections in the City of Thompson, and whereas the senior election official, SEO, has reviewed the remunerations paid in past elections in the City of Thompson and recommends the rates are adjusted, Now therefore be resolved, the council approve the following remunerations to be paid to Election Canada, including interpreters who work on election day. Advanced poll, senior poll official full day, $315. Senior poll official partial day, $200. Assistant poll clerk full day, $275. Assistant poll clerk partial day, $160. Regular poll, senior poll official, including mobile poll, $315. Assistant poll clerk, including mobile poll, $275. Assistant clerk election day, $200. Standby for polling day, $35. Training, $25. Meals, $30. Other individuals as required hourly. For an example, translator, $25. And be it further resolved that the SEO's monthly fee be increased to $175 and the election remuneration be increased to $5,750. Be it further resolved, the council approve the addition of the assistant to an assistant clerk to this SEO at a rate of $25 per hour with approximately 100 hours at a cost not to exceed $2,500. We'll go to administration for support. Anything to add? Mr. Sepatelli?
As part of council's package, there's a memo from the senior election official, just sort of giving the rationale in the need for the increase the remuneration rates as part of that process. The remuneration rates have not increased since 2009, and one of the challenges in the 2014 election, as we changed over to the electronic voting machines, which required less individuals. However, with the new technology, attracting officials was difficult due to the unknowns as to how the election would operate. Primary complaint that was received as part of that election process was the low remuneration rates and the long hours that were required. As indicated, obviously the current rates have been in place for the last two elections, 2010 and 2014, and based on the issues identified, the SEO is recommending that the remuneration rates increase for the 2018 election. The increase is equal to a yearly cost of living increase of 1.5% from 2009. The election costs are cost shared 50-50 with the school district of Mystery Lake. These increases amount to approximately $6,000, of which $3,000 for the City of Thompson, $3,000 for the school district of Mystery Lake. We have been in touch with the school district of Mystery Lake, and they have no issue in regards to these increases and have really given their support and approval of them.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Smook. You moved it.
I agree that I know for sure they had trouble getting people for the last election. People work anywhere from 13 to 15 hours or in excess. Last time it was a lot better with the electronic voting, but normally it's been 15 to 17, 18 hours for the whole day, and that's people not able to leave. So I definitely agree with the minimal increase.
Councillor Beyer.
Yeah, I just wanted to confirm we put money aside every year into our election reserve so that we can meet all of our elections costs. I just want to make sure that the $3,000 extra will come well under what we have put aside in our reserve.
Comments? Seeing none, call for the question. All those in favor? Aye. Carried unanimously. Thank you. Now we have a resolution to approve Mayor Fenskey's attendance at the Provincial Municipal Justice Advisory Committee and a memo from the Executive Assistants. Resolution 2018-111, moved by Councillor Meyer, seconded by Deputy Mayor Smook. Be resolved, the Council approve Mayor Fenskey's attendance at the Provincial Municipal Justice Advisory Committee meeting in Winnipeg on May 11, 2018, and be it further resolved that attendance at this event be borne under the terms and conditions of Bylaw 1897-2013. Go to administration for support. Anything to add?
Indicate that the memo identifies the cost to the City of Thompson is just under $560.
Thank you. We'll go to the mover, Councillor Beyer.
On this, Mayor Fenskey represents us very well at this committee and through his AMM contacts.
Councillor Manichuk.
I'll be voting against this quite simply. In the last couple of weeks, we've been canceling due to lack of quorum more committee meetings than we've been holding. Therefore, I think people should stay put in Thompson, and there is a job to do here.
Even just to advise Councillor Matichuk, the mayor is the third member of all community members, so the responsibility is on councillors to attend. I do not need to attend unless there's a requirement for quorum, and so that's the responsibility of councillors. With that, any other questions? Call for the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Next, we have a resolution to approve Mayor Fenske's attendance at the Federal Provincial Territorial Contract Management Committee meeting and a memo from the Executive Assistants. Resolution 2018-112, moved by Councillor Byer, second by Deputy Mayor Smook. Be it resolved, the Council approve the attendance of Mayor Fenske at the Federal Provincial Territorial Contract Management Committee in Ottawa, Ontario, May 14th to 16th, 2018, and be further resolved the attendance of this event be borne under the terms and conditions of bylaw 1897-2013. Go to administration for support.
Cost is just under $1,400, of which the City of Thompson receives reimbursement from the Association of Manitoba Municipalities for the airfare, taxi fare, hotel accommodation, and meals.
Go to the mover, Councillor Byer.
I think this will be a good use of our mayor's time, and the cost is almost net zero to us.
Council, any questions? Councillor Wong.
Is the AMM practice been changed? Because when I was sitting on the board, like usually AMM arrange all that ahead and they will pay for all the expenses. But how come lately I've seen we have to put the money up front and then AMM reimburses? Is that something, does that the procedure change from AMM?
The process has been followed since I've been appointed to that committee 4 years ago. Councillor Byer.
If I just might add, if you're a district representative, they plan and book and pay for everything in advance. If you're on a committee, that's not necessarily the case. They will quite often do the reimbursing.
So they can change that.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, call for the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's carried. Thank you. Next, we have a resolution to approve attendance at the Asset Management Training Workshop. We have the invite and the memo. Resolution 2018-113, moved by Deputy Mayor Smook, seconded by Councillor Ellis. Be resolved that Council approve the attendance of Deputy Mayor Smook, Councillor Ellis, Councillor Byer at this Asset Management Training Workshop in Thompson on May 11th, 2018. Be further resolved that attendance at this event be borne under the terms and conditions of bylaw 1897-2013. We'll go to administration for support.
Cost for the three councillors of $157.50.
Thank you. We'll go to council. Any questions? Councillor Byer.
Not a question, just a comment. Looking forward to attending this one, assuming we get an approval, because we talk often about making wise decisions in the best interest of the city, accountability, understanding what we're paying for, et cetera, et cetera. And this workshop on asset manager will be a component of helping us make even better decisions.
Any other questions? Deputy Mayor Smook.
Yes, I don't usually move my own resolution, but as you noticed tonight, only Councillor Byer and Ellis and myself signed any of the paperwork that was signed out for resolutions and bylaws. I would like to note, please, that fellow councillors, I hope they have read this stuff and it doesn't come back to haunt us at a future meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Matichuk.
I will be voting for this only because it is going to be held locally and hopefully it won't jeopardize quorum on any of the committees.
Questions or comments? Councillor Wong.
Just a question, because I missed the date. So if I want to do it, can I still do it today? I'm just asking. I'm not saying I'm going to do it.
I think the question would be if you're looking to attend. The information was set out, but I think there's flexibility within council if you want to, if council is in agreement to do a friendly amendment. But we'd need to know if you're committed or not tonight to make a friendly amendment to the resolution.
I'm just asking because I didn't meet the time to respond to Angie.
What I'm saying is there's flexibility within council if council wishes to do a friendly amendment to add your name to this resolution if you commit right now that you want to go. Otherwise,
just continue.
Thank you. Call for the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
It's carried unanimously. Thank you. Now we're going to the bylaws. First reading of bylaw number 1969-2018, levy bylaw, and we have the attached bylaw. Resolution 2018-114, moved by Councillor Byer, second by Deputy Mayor Smook. Be resolved, the bylaw 1969-2018, being the levy bylaw of the City of Thompson for the year 2018, be introduced and read a first time. Go to administration for support. Anything to add? Jen?
Deliberations on the 2018 financial plan. The City of Thompson mill rate has increased by 1.9% as per the rate of inflation for 2017, from 21.40 to 21.807. Additionally, the school district of Mystery Lake increased their mill rate by 0.25% to 18.624. Therefore, the net residential mill rate has increased by 1.13% to 40.431 for 2018. For commercial, the additional of the provincial education support levy was a decrease of 6.9%. So the net commercial mill rate will be a decrease of 0.5% for 2018. As well, the business tax rate has decreased from 4.24% to 3.99% for 2018. A public hearing will be held on April the 26th at 7 p.m. here at Council Chambers, and a copy of the financial plan draft is available online and at the front desk during business hours.
Thank you. Any questions from the mover, which is Councillor Byer?
Just that I look forward to, or I encourage people rather, to come out on April the 26th. I hope they get a chance to read this online, go through it, and bring their questions and comments. Putting together these budgets is not the easiest thing in the world, and I think we all wish that we could roll back taxes and do all kinds of nice things like that. The reality of the situation is a little bit different from that, however. So I hope people do come out and that they have a chance to read, and I hope that they're able to understand. Sometimes the wording is a little bit on the legalistic side, but that'll be part of what April 26th is all about, the presentation as well as explanations. So I'll be supporting first reading.
Council, any other questions? Seeing none, call for the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's carried. Thank you. Next we have in the agenda just a couple corrections in this one. Third reading of bylaw 1945 should be 2016 wastewater rates bylaw. Highlighted changes bylaw number 1945-2016. Bylaw 1945-2016 water and wastewater rates bylaw memo from the project specialist finance. The resolution is correct in that the resolution reads 2018-115, moved by Councillor Ellis, second by Councillor Byer. Be resolved that bylaw 1945-2016, as amended, be given third and final reading, and it do now pass. Administration for support. Anything to add? Seeing Mr. Septelli?
Just indicate as through the Public Utilities Board order, they have only approved the 2018 rates. So the bylaw, obviously, which started in 2016, identified rates for 2017 and 2019. Those are removed from, or being amended from the bylaw and stricken from that bylaw. So the rates bylaw contains information just on the 2018 rates.
Thank you. Go to the mover, Councillor Ellis. Thank you. Council, any other questions? Seeing none, call for the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's carried. We're now, oh, sorry, third reading, recorded vote. Voting in favor, Councillor Byer, Councillor Wong, Councillor Ellis, Councillor Valentino, Councillor Collada, Deputy Mayor Smook, Mayor Fensky. Opposed, Councillor Matichuk. It's carried. Now we're moving into the Mayor's report. This is from April 10th to the 23rd, 2018. Along with Councillor Byer and City Manager Gary Septelli attended the AMM Mayors, Reeves and CAO's meeting in Brandon on April 10th, along with the City Caucus meeting. Along with Councillor Byer and City Manager Gary Septelli attended the AMM City Caucus meeting on Brandon on April 11th. Brought greetings at the opening ceremonies of the Hope North Form 9 on April 18th. Along with City Manager Gary Septelli, met with Northern Health Region on P3 funding model on April 19th. The bi-weekly Thompson 2020 conference calls continue. The water treatment plant meetings are now held on a quarterly basis. Various committee meetings were held: public safety, finance and admin, rec and community services, human resources and legislative and intergovernmental affairs. I have a proclamation by virtue of the authority vested in me as the Mayor of Thompson. I hereby proclaim April 28th, 2018 as National Day of Mourning in the City of Thompson. On a safety perspective, we do have a lot more open water in the last couple of days. We got a little bit of snow today, so it's slippery outside, so stay off the rivers and the lakes that have open water or slushy ice. Reminder, as mentioned earlier, we have a public hearing for the 2018 financial plan, Thursday, April 26th at 7 p.m. in council chambers. And with that, I would go to council for any other representations of the City of Thompson. Anybody? Councillor Beyer.
The first two will probably make me unpopular with my fellow councillors. On April the Wednesday, the 11th, Lions Manor 55 held a radiothon on CHTM. I phoned in a $50 challenge, so my donation was $50, and I challenged all other councillors, including our mayor, to match my donation, or beat it if you'd like. So that's number one. Number two, I'm on a Relay for Life team, and I'm going to pass my envelope around to my fellow councillors. So those are the two that'll make me unpopular with my peers here. At the AMM meeting, I just want to cover off a few notes. Some of the things that they talked about that we might want to keep aware of is cyber protection is going to become part of our insurance policies. We all know that people can steal our identities on a personal level, but they can also get into our computer networks for businesses and municipalities and everything else. So cyber protection is going to be added to our insurance policy. Asset management we talked about. And there's just something else that was mentioned. There's a heritage trust fund that the province has, and Community Places program is apparently not getting cut. It's going to continue on, and I would like organizations in Thompson to be aware of that, because perhaps somebody like Heritage North Museum can take advantage of the Heritage Trust Fund, and there's countless organizations in Thompson who will be able to take advantage of Community Places, which they haven't announced an intake date yet, but it's still on the table. I really got tired of talking about cannabis, especially when there's still so much up in the air. But just to let people know that AMM is doing its best to try and influence other levels of government, that there should be money coming into the municipalities, because we will be absorbing greater costs once the cannabis legislation takes effect. Again, not a lot of details. And also carbon tax. We talked a bit about carbon tax, and you know, our gas prices are going to go up as a result of it, and we really don't know what benefits we're going to get. Some of the speakers, I'm sorry if this is too long, but one of them was Barbara Bowes, who talked about a growing concern. She said that disrespect and incivility are the fastest growing concerns among municipalities. That was a quote. She mentioned that because elected officials are always in the spotlight, whether we're at a council meeting or at a restaurant, it doesn't matter, at the grocery store, we're always being judged by our actions, not just our words. And so we should be guarding our attitudes, behaviors, and actions. And that was from Barbara Bowes, and I did not write down her position, I'm sorry. Susan Wenzel also talked about, in one of the breakout sessions, communication and leadership styles. Sherry Walsh, she is the first ever integrity officer for the City of Winnipeg. She talked about integrity and what's in the public interest. She also mentioned that the Municipal Council Conflict of Interest Act does hold us to a higher level of behavior and accountability, and that's probably also an act that we should be reading, not just the Municipalities Act. There was a panel on shared health, and some of the comments that came out of there, they said that Manitoba has the highest % of its budget going to health care compared to other provinces, yet we're not getting better outcomes than other provinces. Other provinces are getting better outcomes than we are. They went through some of the statistics by region on mental health and addictions and ER services, home care, recruitment and retention of doctors, and there's some pretty interesting statistics there. And again, there's still lots more information to come out and actions that will be coming as a result of that. Minister Fielding was a speaker. He talked about a multi-year federal provincial program for housing with focus on 3 areas: affordable housing, portable shelter, which really means rent assistance, and social housing. He said that the strategy that the province is coming up with will be based on input from 15 communities and 1,500 individuals, and that there's 150 new affordable units being built as we speak, and he mentioned Thompson in there, and the only affordable housing that I can think of in Thompson right now is our Lions Manor 55, so possibly that's what he was referring to. Didn't get a chance to ask him. Minister Wharton, he presented awards for the Manitoba Community Preparedness Award. He talked about legislation regarding harassment of elected officials and government employees. It's something that the province is working on, and of course the Bill 19 Planning Act. And so just to give you an idea of the breakout sessions, besides a couple that I mentioned, civility at work, growing demand for something called flex time, so that's more for our administration to be aware of. Age-friendly communities, and you might have seen do I have it? I left this on just a couple of chairs in the audience, and I gave some to some key people that I thought might need it. So age-friendly communities, watershed management, drainage licensing, and that sort of thing. Just one more comment on the age-friendly Manitoba. They're actually going to be here May 15th, and one of the people who's part of Age Friendly Manitoba is a former mayor of Thompson, Tom Farrell. So if you get an opportunity at all, introduce yourself to Tom Farrell, unless you already know him, which many people already do. So.
Yeah, so I had the privilege of attending the Mine Rescue dinner and awards. Mark Scadden's team, which is born and raised in Thompson, his team was the winners of that. It was sort of a sad affair in that the fact that this is likely the last year of that scope with the refinery and that closing, but it was a great night had by all. Then on the 20th, I had the privilege of being at the Knights of Columbus. Again, I'd like to thank the teachers, the Knights of Columbus, TRCC staff, the parents, the athletes, just absolutely everybody worked so hard for that. And again, I apologize, I was 20 minutes late because I was given the wrong time, but that's fine. Over the last couple weeks, I've attended a rec committee meeting, finance, Liga, HR, budget meetings. I was acting chair on Monday mornings. Wayne Kaversky from Public Works has officially retired, and I went to a dinner for him. And I want to remind you that the Relay for Life is coming up. One other thing that it's keep insinuated that I missed a Public Works meeting, which I did. I had given 6 weeks notice that I would be out of town and not available for that. I might add that is 2 meetings out of 3 years for Public Works that I have missed. And I would also like to say that when Mr. Matichuk was chair of that meeting, I sometimes had to sit in for him when he forgot his teeth or his glasses, didn't have his teeth. So I think we're even. Thank you.
Councillor Matichuk.
I just want to counter that. Quite simply, it could have been rescheduled. Very simple thing to do. You are the chair. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Smook. Deputy Mayor Smook. Okay. Any other reports? Seeing none, call for the motion to adjourn. Deputy Mayor Smook. Seconder. Councillor Ellis. All in favor. We stand adjourned. Stand adjourned.